Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim, starting with the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Beneficent. I hope you are all fine, and you must have gone through my previous talks on the subject of child health and preventive pediatrics, and you must have realized that the role of health manager is increasing day by day in health sector, and wherever somebody is serving who has been in the management of health sector has to be well versed with the system working in Pakistan, has to see the vertical programs, the horizontal programs, see the primary, secondary, tertiary healthcare disciplines, and has to see the health policies. It is unfortunate that in Pakistan no definite health policy has been working, and certain sectors are working, certain other vertical programs are working, certain things directly from Federal Health Department. Previously it was thought that both federal health and provincial health can go together. Then it was thought that it's only the provincial chapter which works for the health. Then federal health was made dormant for some time. Then federal health was realized that if a plan from WHO, UNICEF or any other UN side comes, then who can negotiate and who can monitor and who can amend it to the according to the living standards in Pakistan. So again federal health was working. Unfortunately, many of the health plans have come, 5 years plan, sometimes maybe lesser plans, 10 years plan at one stage, but to the best of my knowledge, maybe one or two, not more than that, have reached the completion of those plans. Then in 2001 maybe or 2000, our devolution plan came when devolved units, the district level, the whole of the district was converted into a devolved unit, and DCO was made the head of that unit and head of all the services, particularly the health service in that area in the district. And that devolution plan indicated that the services would be on the district level, and DCO will be the in charge, and EDO will be the senior officer or the officer in charge of the health sector. But unfortunately that plan is not working up to that level. Now we have to see first of all the health system in Pakistan in detail, and for that purpose we have to see the health economics. What economy, how much money we are spending on the health of our country. So Pakistan is classified as a low income country, and according to Human Poverty Index HPI, it ranks 65th among the 102 developing countries. So first of all the developed countries, and then developing countries, and among developing countries Pakistan ranks 65th among 102 developing countries. Although the Human Development Index HDI has improved from 0.346 in 1975 to 0.539 in 2006, this improvement has been slow. Pakistan ranks 134 out of 208 or 210 countries. Pakistan ranks 134 in the 2006 United Nations Development Programs, and HDI, the Human Development Index, and most of its social and developmental indicators compare poorly with the countries of the similar level of the economic level, economic development. Even the third world countries, even among the third world countries, Pakistan does not enjoy a very good position. Rather, it has 134. Even Pakistan spends lesser amount of money on health in the countries of the same economy, like Bangladesh, like Sri Lanka, like Bhutan, Nepal, India. So Pakistan spends lesser money on health even compared with those countries. The indicators for health, education, gender equality, housing, water supply, sanitation have remained poorer than other low-income countries in Pakistan, particularly in the South Asian region. Again, Pakistan is not the leading country as far as their health, education, gender equality, housing or water supply and sanitation is concerned among the Asian countries, South Asian countries, which almost most of the countries are of the same economic status, even maybe of the lesser economic status, but still Pakistan is spending lesser amount of money on health as compared to those countries. The large burden of infectious disease in Pakistan is closely related to the lack of sanitation facilities and safe sources of potable water. In Pakistan, safe water is not available to many of the people. Only 40% of the living beings in Pakistan can have clear water. That is not clean water, that is not just mineral water, that is not the safe water, but that is only the clear water which is available to only the 40% of the population. Otherwise, the population living in far-flung areas of Balochistan, in KPK, in Pakistan, in Deep Sindh, they do not have the clean water or the potable water only. They have to rely on the river water, on the tanks, on the secured water or the safe water. But unfortunate story is that is not the safe to be drunk, to be used for the potable purposes. The public spending in the sector as a whole typically represents less than 0.5% of GDP in Pakistan. So not even the 1%, not even 0.5%, less than 0.5% of the GDP of the total income of the country is being spent on the health of the people. Though literacy rate has increased to 53% as compared to 45% in 2001, but the gender gap, the supremacy of the males in Pakistan has not shown any significant reduction. The urban literacy rate is 69.7%, while in rural areas it is 41.6% and only 26.6% among the rural women. So only this may be a sort of a misconcept, but still. Because only those ladies who can signature for themselves are considered literate. So only those ladies who can sign for themselves, can put on their signatures, are if are considered literate. Then in the rural areas, only 1 of 4, 26.6% of the ladies are to be considered literate or educated. Then is the health status and demographics. Demographics plays important role in the health status. Obviously, nowadays there is transitional phase. The health status is improving. The health life expectancy is improving. Other strata are improving. But unfortunately, because of lesser budget we spend on our health, there is not much improvement in the health sector. The health profile of Pakistan is characterized by high population growth rate, 1, high infant and child mortality rate, 2, high maternal mortality ratio, and a dual burden of communicable and non-communicable diseases on the economy of the country, or on the economy allocated for the health. Malnutrition, diarrhea, acute respiratory tract illnesses, other communicable and vaccine preventable diseases are mainly responsible for high burden of infant and perinatal mortality, with high maternal mortality is mostly attributed to a high fertility rate, low skilled birth attendance rate, illiteracy, malnutrition, and insufficient access to the emergency obstetric care services. I mean to say that in Pakistan, it is unfortunate that the high population growth, rapid increase in the population, high infant and child mortality, high maternal mortality ratio, and a dual burden of communicable and non-communicable diseases, malnutrition, diarrhea, acute respiratory tract illnesses, other communicable and vaccine preventable diseases are mainly responsible for high burden of infant and perinatal mortality, with high maternal mortality. The deaths of the mother is mostly attributed to a high fertility rate, very much less spacing among the children, and low skilled birth attendance rate. The qualified people do not attend the birth delivery, and the illiteracy, which makes further the things which make the things further complicated. Malnutrition, insufficient access to emergency obstetric care services are the causes for there such a load on the health sector. Furthermore, only 40% of the births are attended by skilled birth attendants, as I've already told you, and the malnutrition is rampant, with the 30 to 40% of the children among being stunted. Waterborne diseases constitute nearly 12.5% of the disease burden in Pakistan. Non-communicable diseases and injuries are amongst the top 10 causes of the mortality and morbidity in Pakistan, and accounts for almost 25% of the deaths within the country. 1 in 3. I mean to say that if we join non-communicable diseases with injuries, or we consider injuries as non-communicable disease, then it is not among the 10, it is the leading cause, and every 4th death, every 1 out of 4 person dying in this country will be because of non-communicable disease or accidents and injuries. 1 in 3 adults over the age of 45 years suffers from high blood pressure, which is the figure nowadays as well, and the prevalence of diabetes is reported to be 10% in 2006. Nowadays it has been reported to be more than 20%. Every 4th to 5th person suffers diabetes mellitus in this part of the world. And actually, because most of the people, they do not agree that they have got the diabetes, and they do not go for the tests or through the diagnostic procedures. That is why they do not know that they have got diabetes. So hidden diabetes is still there, and over 10 million individuals suffer from neurotic conditions. There are an estimated 1.5 million blind people within the country, and during 2004, 77,780 cases of the pulmonary tuberculosis, and 100,000, 103,416 cases of malaria were reported, while prevalence of hepatitis B has been ranging from 3 to 4% in hepatitis C, around 5% in general population. The burden of the disease estimates how that an equal burden could be attributable to infections vis-a-vis non-communicable diseases. We mean to say that the communicable and non-communicable are going together, and they together cross more than 70% of the illnesses in this part of the world. But still, to make you remember, the communicable ratio is 38.4 and the non-communicable ratio is 37.7. And still, if the latter clearly surpassing, if burden of the injuries and accidents, 11.4% added to the non-communicable diseases. That means almost the 50% of the deaths will be because of the non-communicable diseases and injuries and accidents. So Pakistan is the 6th most populous country in the world, going through the demographic transition. It is experiencing a once in a lifetime demographic dividend as the working age group bulges and the dependency ratio declines. That may be a good aspect to this part of the world, that as the age expectancy is increasing, the working hand are increasing, the birth spacing is increasing, we have seen. So all those things will add to will help us to spend more money on the health sector than we have been spending previously. The crude birth rate, CBR, peaked at about 45 in the late 1970s to early 80s, when the demographic transition took off and decreased to 30 births per 100,000 population by 2006. It was 45 and now it is 30 births in a year per 1,000 people living in that specific area. By 2050, it is expected to be almost 16 births per 1,000 population. Crude death rate has progressively declined from 24 deaths per 1,000 in a year of, say for example, 1950 to approximately 8 in a year in 2006. That means it has reduced to more than 200%, and now only 8 people die per 1,000 in a year, and that is a very good sign. That means if the earning hands are not increased, the fit people are not increased. On the other side, we are happy to have the increase in the life expectancy. So the aged people are the population. That will be a good sign at one hand, it would be a good sign for the society, and on the other hand, the dependency ratio, as the aged people will increase, may increase. So it will continue to decline before increasing again after the year 2045. Why up to 2045? That means because in this year the aged people will be more than the younger, or the ratio of the aged people will increase. That means that the death rate may also increase. Death rate may also increase because of the age of the people. This increase would be due to the changing age structure of the population, which would then have a bigger proportion of the elderly people. It was during 1990s that the Pakistan had a major shift in fertility decline, with the rate falling from over 6 children around 4 to around 4.5 children per woman by 1 year in 2000. Previously, one lady in her lifetime used to produce 6 children, but by 2000 only 4.5 children she could produce. Then is the health organization system in Pakistan. As far as the health organization system is concerned, working in this part of the world, the health system in Pakistan consists of public and private. We all know the government sector and the private sector. The Ministry of Health at the federal level has a major role of, to develop national policies and strategies for entire population of the country. It sets national goals and objectives, including the maternal health care. The health is primarily the responsibility of the provincial government. As I have already talked to you, that the provincial chapter is now mainly responsible for the health of the people, except in the federally administered areas where Islamabad and other previously the federally administered areas, the KPK, FATA, but nowadays they have developed their own province, and their own health department looks after their health affairs. Ministry of Health consists of one division and several departments. Ministry of Health is headed by the Minister of Health, and at the bureaucratic level, the Federal Secretary Health is the overall in charge, and assisted by the Director General Health, Chief Health, and 2 joint secretaries. The Provincial Health Secretary translates the provincial health policies, exercises control over the budget, and has a direct control over the teaching hospitals and other special institutions like special institution for special persons or institution for deaf and dumb people. Pakistan's health sector is constitutionally a provincial subject, but healthcare delivery has traditionally been jointly administered by the federal and the provincial governments, within the district mainly responsible for the implementation. The service delivery is being organized through preventive, promotive, curative, and rehabilitative services. So I mean to say that, please listen to me again, preventive, promotive, curative, and rehabilitative services at different levels, maybe at primary, secondary, and tertiary levels, but those are the responsibilities of the health sector. The curative and rehabilitative services are being provided mainly by the secondary and tertiary care facilities. Preventive and promotive, that is where we are concerned. Services, on the other hand, care mainly provided through various national programs and community health workers interfacing with the communities through primary healthcare facilities and outreach activities. Primary healthcare. We know much about primary healthcare, but the implementation of the primary healthcare, that begins at the time of the first encounter between the patient and the healthcare provider. Facilities include mother and child healthcare centers, the mother and child healthcare centers, basic health center units, BHUs, and RSCs, rural health centers. There is at least one primary healthcare center in each union council, which has a range of population from 1,000 to 25,000. Previously, one union council was considered to be of 5,000 people, living 5,000, a population of the 5,000, but then the population ratio increased. Now it is average, on an average 10 to 15,000 per union council, but the range should be from 1,000 to 25,000 people. Maybe 1,000 in some part of Balochistan, but mainly in Punjab it is around 20 to 25,000 people living in one union council. The maternal and child health care centers and BHUs are to operate from 8 am to 3 pm except Sundays, while RSCs are to provide 24-hour services. They are supposed to provide 24-hour services. However, most of these facilities are operational for only 3 to 5 hours on each of the working days. The MSCs are managed by lady health visitors and provide basic antenatal care, normal delivery, help in normal delivery, postnatal and family planning services and treatment of the minor ailments to the women and children. The BHUs have a staff of about 10 people consisting of a male doctor, LHV, or a female health technician, or a dispenser and a trained or unqualified midwife, Daya, and sanitary inspector and a vaccinator, and 2 to 3 support staff, guards, sweepers and gardeners. They are required to offer first level of the curative, MHC, family planning, immunization, preventive services through doctors and paramedics. BHU serves 10 to 20,000 population in Punjab. The rural health centers provide more extensive outpatient and some inpatient services, usually limited to short-term observations and treatment of the patients who are not expected to require transfer to a higher level facilities. They serve catchment population of about 50,000 to 100,000 people with about 30 staff, including 2 male medical officers, 1 female medical officer, 1 dental surgeon, and a number of paramedics. They typically have 10 to 20 beds, X-rays, laboratories, X-ray machines, laboratories, and minor surgery facilities. They do not include delivery and emergency obstetric cares. Tehsil Taluka headquarters hospitals serve a catchment population of about 0.1 to 500,000 to 100,000 or 1 million people. They typically have 40 to 60 beds and appropriate support services, including X-ray, laboratory, surgery, and facilities. The staff includes at least 3 specialists, an obstetrician and gynecologist, a pediatrician, and a general surgeon. These hospitals are expected to provide comprehensive emergency obstetric care. District headquarter hospitals or DHQs serve catchment population of about 1 to 2 million, 10 lakhs to, for example, 20 lakhs people, and typically have 100 to 150 beds. There are at least 8 specialists, including obstetrician and anesthetist. In all public sector or government sector facilities, a significant number of sanctioned doctors, specialists posts are lying vacant, and the services provided are of very low quality and in mainly instances not available at all. Pakistan initiated the implementation of the Devolution Initiative in 2001 to enhance accountability at local level and improve service delivery by devolving administrative and financial powers to district and local authorities. The district health system under district government is responsible for planning, development and management, including implementation of healthcare delivery from DHQ hospitals right to the outreach programs. The provincial governments have focused on restructuring primary healthcare delivered by revitalizing BHUs and RSCs. The private sector, unfortunately, this devolve unit or devolution plan is not working. The provincial governments are only taking care of the BHUs and RSCs. They are trying to complete the staff in those facilities, but unfortunately, the level has not been could not be achieved where what we have been expected or we have been desired. As a result of that, the private sector is gaining popularity. The private health sector constitutes a diverse group of doctors, nurses, traditional healers, pharmacists, drug vendors, as well as laboratory technicians, homeopaths, and hakims, and what not, the faith healers, the shopkeepers, and unqualified practitioners. All they practice medicine to treat people and to give them preventive motives. Majority of the private sector hospitals have sole proprietorship or a partnership model of organization. Stand-alone clinics all across Pakistan are the major providers of outpatient care. Majority of those clinics fall in the sole proprietorship category. According to the economic census 2001 to 2003, there are 96,430 private health facilities, including hospitals, dispensaries, hakims, homeopaths, and other healthcare providers. Most of the private hospitals are concentrated in urban areas. There is a legislation on these accreditation of the doctors, nurses, and LHVs. The law requires that all providers for healthcare be registered with the respective regulatory bodies. However, in practice, this is rarely implemented. The legislation for accreditation accreditation institutions like hospitals and quality assurance mechanisms are absent, and there is no licensing mechanism nor is any license or permission required to open or operate a health facility. About two-thirds visits of or take place in the private sector. I mean to say that if 100 people visit the the public sector hospital, then 200 people visit the private sector hospital. Pakistan is a significant non-profit private sector with more than 80,000 non-profit organizations, NGOs, and registered under various acts. The traditional medicine has also been an integral part of the cultural heritage, and I will like to remind you that now the government of Punjab is working on the NGOs which working under non-profit, and they are trying to register them again so that the donations or the help of the people can be achieved through definitive designed and allowed permission after permission from the government sector. That's all for today. I expect you to listen it in time, and then I expect you to send me feedback so that I can improve myself. Meanwhile, I have to say my prayer, say goodbye. Thank you very much.